I am baffled, I am bamboozled, I am frazzled, I am dazzled. And I knew I couldn't trust Jade. But I have to give Seventh Prince a hell of a round of applause, because the thing about it was, if they didn't show us backstory leading up to this moment, everyone would have sus energy. They'd say, no, like, if he can properly teleport a letter to them, he could have teleported himself. So the whole time with learning and seeing, like, Jade was genuine. He was towards them, especially Red. There was no ounce of, like, he actually felt genuinely upset when he had to reveal that he had been lying to them about his upbringing. So I thought, and I'm sure I'm not alone, that he had a gun to his head, like people were using him. And I guess technically that does turn out to be true, but it's so much worse than what you're expecting. As soon as I saw Humpty Dumpty standing on a wall, I wanted Humpty Dumpty to take a great fall. But I said, hey, it is what it is. They started playing the credits like 7 minutes before the episode ended. Immediately, I thought Red Wedding vibes. I was like, this ain't gonna be good. This ain't gonna be good at all. But even I wasn't ready for the Cuphead meets Madoka Magica level animation and art direction jump scares as he reveals. Now, here's the thing. I really knew I couldn't trust Jade when I saw his mullet. I was like, this is a bad guy hairstyle. There's something about his character design. It just gave me the heebie-jeebies. But I was like, man, you can't do this. I felt bad for them. How am I feeling so bad for an Assassin's Guild, man? But I genuinely was. And the longer it went on, the more dumbfounded I was, because rather than just revealing, like, I killed Jade and took over his body, they let you simmer with it as you feel equally betrayed as the characters, which is hard to do, because usually you're probably approaching this thinking they're gonna get jumped, they're gonna get got. But the thing about it is you can't know for sure until it's all revealed, and my mind is actually blown. This is hands down the best episode of this show to date, and probably arguably the least sus episode as well. Full live reactions available on Patreon if you want to see my full uncut thoughts and mind break in real time. It's going to be over there exclusively. So, we did become Oppenheimer. Lloyd came in with probably one of the best lines, like, that's me. He's striking a pose like, that's me. And I'm like, the kid broke me at the end, but he literally launched a nuclear bomb, and I didn't even need to see a second of the PV to know that he's about to make all of them call him daddy. But what in the hell was this episode? The backstory and learning about Jade. At first, when, like, he brings up the fact that, hey, like, to be able to master spatial kind of manipulation to teleport, like, that's, like, the hardest of the hard. So to properly and accurately drop a letter, why wouldn't he do that? Like, immediately I'm like, oh shit, we can't trust Jade. But then they show you that backstory, and they get you to be like, that doesn't make sense. Because I'm thinking, even if he willingly didn't want to go to them because he was manipulating for some reason, he genuinely cared. So it's like, there's no argument of why he couldn't teleport himself. If he can drop a letter like that, then he has to be being used. I thought, based on how they were like kind of framing things, his family was toxic and for one reason or another was using him. But the idea that he was completely took over, and they're saying he's dead, like Jade is dead, and the monster, the spirit that's within him, is where he is. I'm going to assume one of two things. Our boy Lloyd is going to do some magical bullshit and swap it around and bring the real one back, or fake one's going to die. Either way, in Reincarnated as a Seventh Prince do I trust, this show is wild. Like, I can't state this enough, and I can't even do it justice. The emotion I had when they first sat down and were being seated by, like, the warm welcoming party. I literally was getting Red Wedding flashbacks from Game of Thrones. I was questioning everything that I knew about a guy that I barely know, but everything that I'm seeing from this backstory says he shouldn't want to betray. So is his mind just being, like, did he dabble in some dark arts to master his ability and it's corrupted him? And it got worse the longer it went on. It's just such an effective hook and twist. And the art direction they went for, it really does remind me of Cuphead. Whether you're watching the show or playing the game. Like, Cuphead had a very distinct art style. And just, like, the way he would peer up, it felt like Cuphead boss designs. It was so creepy. And it got worse the longer it went on. To see their level of betrayal, like, the fact that at one point he bends over and he's like, what was your name again? I forget. You're the poison one. Disrespectful. but so effective at nailing the emotion. I'm trying to think of the last time that I felt this level of betrayal alongside the characters, because like I said, I suspected something was up. I suspected he might have even been lying, but I was so convinced by the backstory that it didn't make sense. So when they initially make you linger on the fact that he just was a scumbag, I felt like I just had my best friend or family member I've known my whole life pull the rug from under my feet and betray my trust. And yes, I did let out a sigh of relief in a sick sort of way when I realized that the real one's dead, but still, it doesn't change the impact. Thank God for Lloyd. Well, I mean, at the same time, Lloyd is a crazy bastard, but thank God for the crazy bastard being on our side. I felt bad for Grimm the most, though, man. Like, he felt like Grimm's become such a cinnamon roll, and just Grimm didn't deserve that kick, man. It's just some BS. And not to mention, man, the music was so good. Like, that happy-go-lucky BS music as they're sitting down to the drop of intensity is such good musical directing. Like, without the OST going so hard at manipulating our emotions and anxiety, it wouldn't be nearly as impactful. And these are the types of episodes that flexes a good adaptation. It's not about just the visuals. The sound direction's also got to be equally good alongside those VAs, which this one absolutely was. Like, this show, if you dumb down the production in a lot of the episodes, would we be hyping it up quite as much? Maybe not. But an episode like this is driven first and foremost by the character writing. There was an explosive moment at the end, and I think you could argue it was explosively visually with the demonic scene. But it was the entire journey to get there. We didn't just teleport, we didn't just run. It was learning how they talked about him. And just the fact that, you know, in a moment, especially for Ren, who lost essentially a big brother father figure, the fact that a new brother figure kind of popped up to save the day, it's such an emotional whiplash, but hands down the most impactful episode. It has me saying, what the hell? WTF for days, man. Like, what even was this episode? But it's so good at what it does, you know? Like, it's just... I don't know what the rest of this season's gonna look like, but it's hard for me to imagine the emotional whiplash I went through being topped, at least for this season of Reincarnated as a 7th Prince. Let me know what you thought down below. I'd love to know what you were thinking building up to it. Just feelings down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell so you know if I want to upload more. And like I mentioned, we got those full live reactions over on Patreon. And hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. Alrighty, so today we have Roscoe, Zeekster, Refak972, Michael Latham, Sleeping Knight, Riptide, and Valorix. My chest hurts. This episode got me stressed. So please take care, everyone. And have a good one.